You see, in the midst of the world's brokenness and their own experiences, they end up on the outskirts, forging their own little community. And I think the challenge for us to hear in this text is that Jesus does an incredible thing. He heals the 10 lepers. And he says, go back to the priest, because the priest, even though not with an MD behind their names, are the one who can say, okay, you can go back into community. You're well, you're healed, you're clean. You can go back into community. They are the ones who have that authority. So they go, all 10 of them. But I'm mindful that on that journey, something else is happening. You see, this community that had lived on the outskirts, on the margins, now starts struggling with, what does it look like when this healing really transpires? What happens when now all of a sudden these other 9 people that you have grown accustomed to being around, for better or for worse, all dissipate? Some going back to their own homes, where they are going to have spouses or children saying, really? Can you come back again? Or villages where that person will always be known as that one who had to live in the leper colony. You see, healing and being made whole here, I think, is a big issue. It's a big challenge. And the way that I've interpreted this is that when Jesus enters in, new healing takes place. But it's not without a challenge. As we think about Children's Sabbath, I invite you to think about some of the children that you have known who have climbed up in a tree, or fallen off a ladder, or slid down the banister, and ended up with a broken arm or a broken leg. And I think of one particular individual that I know, where due to their own challenges or faults, or the doctors, the bone didn't mend back the way that it was supposed to. And the doctor had to re-break and reset. When I think about what Jesus is doing here, Jesus is looking at a situation that is broken and has come together in a way that isn't healthy or isn't whole. That the way these people have been kicked out of community and the way that people have been ostracized and marginalized is not the way that God and Jesus intends. And yet, it's what they've been forced into due to society and circumstance. So I see Jesus coming back in and re-breaking. He's a healer. He's doing some tough things. And saying we can't go on the way that it always has been. And we can't let society function with all of the rules and the challenges that have always been, but rather have to allow for a new healing, a new structure. Ouch. If you're like me, when you think about that re-breaking poem, you just cringe. But it's there that Jesus says, I'm going to do a new thing so that there can be true healing and resetting. And there's one, an outsider. Part Jewish, part Semitic, but not Jewish. Doesn't quite get all of the temple hoopla. Doesn't quite get what it's like to be in the community and keep kosher in the same way that the others do. But as they're on the way to the temple, he looks and says, I'm different. I'm healed. I'm made well. And he stops and turns around and goes back to Jesus and says, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Falling down on his knees, prostrating himself. Sometimes those people who are marginalized, and then even farther marginalized, are the ones who get it. that challenges the way things are. It says you have to cross over mile after mile to get back to where you need to be. And you need to listen to this other voice, this prophetic voice, because he's got something for you. Will we take that journey with her? Will we go to the schools, to the community centers? Will we go to those places where racism is happening? Or after this weekend, will we touch those lives who are affected by violence in their own homes, or the families that are around them? Will we listen to those voices and say, healing can happen? We've got to go. As Jesus resets lives, he also resets